Do you believe in miracles? The Jacksonville Jaguars defeat the Buffalo Bills at home by a score of 9-6. Now, going into this game, a lot of people did not give the Jaguars a chance in this one, including myself, especially after I flew across the country to Seattle and just watched us get shellacked by the Seattle Seahawks. But then at home against a 5-2 Buffalo Bills team, who is an AFC favorite, a favorite to kind of land the number one seed in the AFC in the playoffs. We're coming to Jacksonville, and man, there weren't a lot of people confident about this one, man. And the Jaguars pulled it off. They won by a score of 9-6, and it was like very reminiscent of really just a 2017 Jaguars team where they defeated the Bills in a playoff game, 10-3. So the Bills in the last since 2017, their last two visits only mustered up 9 points in Jacksonville. Something going on there. But man, it was a crazy game, and I'm wearing a Josh Allen jersey right now. This guy put on a freaking show out here. Of course, this is the famous Josh Allen versus Josh Allen game. I was actually excited about this one since the schedule dropped. And going into this game, all I really wanted out of this was for Josh Allen to get a sack on Josh Allen. But Josh Allen is a little bit selfish. He wanted all the stats. He got a sack, a forced fumble, his first interception of his career on Josh Allen, the Josh Allen thing, and also 10 tackles. He was incredible all over the field. He was really that dominant player, and man, it was such a fun thing to watch. I forgot what it looked like to watch a Jaguars team with great defense. I forgot how fun it was. And other guys were stepping up and making plays on the defense too, man. Taven Bryan got 2 sacks himself. Like, oh my gosh, he really came out of nowhere. Also, Rudy Ford had an interception as well, so we forced 2 total interceptions on Josh Allen. Also, a fumble recovery was forced on Josh Allen. We finally won a turnover differential, +2 in that category. Carlos Hyde did have a fumble, but just not only that, just players were flying all over the field. Dewan Smoot had an incredible game. Also, like I said, Rudy Ford, Damian Wilson, Miles Jack. I mean, when you only let up 6 points against the opponent, that pretty much means a lot of players are doing good, because all it takes is one coverage bust, and then, you're going to let up a touchdown. But it was really, really incredible to kind of watch this Jaguar team kind of come together against a really good, Bills team. I don't think their run game is where it should be. I don't really know what's going on with their running back situation with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. But I mean, Jaguars went after Josh Allen, and they caused a lot of pressure on him, and he was flustered. There were times where he had guys open, but because of the fact that the Jaguars were getting so much pressure in there and getting pressure early, they were kind of in his head where his clock was like, I need to get rid of this ball quick. And it was awesome to see, man. It was really, really awesome to see this defense. Big shout out to them, man. They really showed up today, and they made Josh Allen look pretty pedestrian. Now, on offensive side of the ball, man, we had a little bit of a scare in that second quarter. With Cam Robinson being injured, backup Walker Little, our second-round pick, kind of played in place of him. He didn't have a greatest game. He wasn't horrible, but, the most notable thing was when he kind of backpedaled into Trevor Lawrence and stepped on his ankle, and Trevor Lawrence wasn't really able to put much weight on that ankle. And I can imagine being at TIAA Bank, how scary it must have been. But it seemed like a superhero moment, man. He comes back out on the field with his helmet on after going to the locker room and getting some x-rays done. He's running sprints on the sideline, and he was able to kind of go in the same drive that he came out of. CJ Beathard, shout out to him, 2 for 2. It says 2 for 2, but he had an incompletion, so he was 2 for 3. And the incompletion was a dime, the one that he threw over to Agnew that should have been a touchdown, but what are you going to do with this receiving core, you know what I mean? But Trevor Lawrence, I mean, obviously he had the scare, but he didn't have a great game. 15 of 26, 118 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He took care of the ball, and I think that was really the biggest difference was, as bad as a game and as pedestrian as Trevor Lawrence looked, the guy on the other side of the ball, Josh Allen, threw 2 interceptions, which, obviously the turnover differential is crazy when it comes to, if you win the turnover differential, a lot of times you win the game. And that was kind of the name of this game where, they turned the ball over 3 times. And, that was kind of the difference. So that was kind of big time. Carlos Hyde stepped in, 21 rushes for 67 yards. He had a decent game. The big thing was, man, when that first play, Trevor Lawrence came back from injury. He fumbles the ball, which was weird. I guess just a mental lapse because it wasn't punched out or anything. And, it left at least 3 points on the board for us. But overall, I mean, a lot of people were butting this, giving a lot of but ifs. But the thing about this game is, like, the Jaguars played a far superior opponent with the Buffalo Bills. Their coaching looks to be better. Their team overall, roster-wise, is better. These kind of games, you fight and claw and you find a way to win. You find a way to beat teams that are better than you. And that's exactly what the Jaguars did. It's exactly what the Jaguars did. They found a way. And really this whole game, like, especially in the second half, I was actually pretty comfortable with it. I wasn't feeling like the Jags were going to mess up and give this up. Like, they were just really, it seemed like, controlling the game for the most part. And it was just really, really awesome to see. And I also want to give a big shout out to Urban Meyer. Them boys came out there and they were ready to play, man. Like, this time last week after that Seattle game, I was ready to say goodbye to Urban Meyer. I was basically like, look, one thing I did say, though, I said, I don't think Urban Meyer's the answer. I think at the end of the year, he needs to walk away. But at the same time, a lot of fans were like, we need to fire him now. We need to fire him now. We need to fire him now. I'm never on that train because I don't think firing him now, I don't see any benefit of it. You know what I mean? Like I say, best case scenario, Urban Meyer finds a way to pull out some wins and boom, like we do good at the end of the season. I know after the bye week, I said, look, what I want out of this team, I want to go 4-5 and 5-4. Go around 500. Right now the Jaguars are 1-1 out of the bye week. Just show some good improvement, win some games you're not supposed to win. And we came out there and the top candidate that a lot of Jaguar fans are wanting is Brian Daboll, Buffalo Bills offense coordinator. Joe Cullen straight up out-coached Brian Daboll today. Brian Daboll had no answers for the Jaguars defense. And this is the guy that a bunch of Jaguar fans want to be our head coach. So, I don't know. It's a huge shout out to Urban Meyer, man. I know I put it on Twitter. People were like, oh, this goes to Joe Cullen, not Urban Meyer. But guess what, guys? If we're going to criticize Urban Meyer after a performance like last week, we have to give him a lot of praise for a game like this because these guys bought in. They came out here ready to play, and, they did it. They got it done. You know what I mean? They beat the Bills 9-6. And, another thing I want to kind of mention about our offense, while it wasn't good, the Jaguars were kind of able to keep moving and kind of moving the chains a little bit. Only 2 3 and out, so it wasn't like, we just went out there and, laid an egg and kind of went out. We just weren't able to get into the end zone, and obviously we left some points on the board with Carlos Hyde's fumble and also Matthew Wright's missed kicks, but we at the end of the day, I guess we did find a way. But yeah, I just wanted to give that shout out to Urban Meyer, man, because those boys came to play. And Trevor Lawrence's ankle, it looks like it's a lower ankle sprain or something like that, and they're just gonna kind of limit him this week in practice, which is understandable. But man, like, it was good to see him come back. And obviously the passing game just hasn't been very good this year. And, it's not all on Trevor Lawrence. Some of it is like he didn't have, especially after the ankle injury, he wasn't really throwing the best passes, missed Marvin Jones, even Agnew, kind of toward the end of the game. But man, the receivers are bad for this team, man. Laviska Shenault has not been very good. And, our top pass catcher is Dan Arnold. He had by far the most receiving yards, 4 receptions, 60 yards. The next top guy was Jamal Agnew, 3 catches for 27 yards. And it's we need some improvement at that position for sure. And I imagine we're going to get it next year. So those are just some things. I mean, obviously the Jaguars roster is not complete at all. There's a lot of room that the Jaguars need improvement on that end, but the Jaguars improved to 2-6, and just huge shout out to all the Jag fans that were at this game. It must have been so cool because Bills Mafia showed up. A bunch of them were there, and I know the feeling. I know the feeling of going to TIAA and leaving a loser, leaving embarrassed by the other team, and just having Steeler fans, Packer fans, whatever, talk all this smack to your face. But today was or yesterday, I should say, was the Jaguars' day, and Jaguar fans must have been so excited leaving that game. I would have been trolling the crap out of Bills fans. I don't know about yourself, but yeah, man, it was a overall cool game. Now, next week, the Jaguars have the Colts. The Colts is going to be a tough team, man. Now that they're back from injury, offensive line is getting healthy, Jonathan Taylor is getting cooked up. That's going to be a tough go for sure. It's going to be a tough go, but let's enjoy this win for a little bit, and then we can kind of go back out here and look at this next matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. And I'll finally be back and streaming that game for you guys, so it's going to be fun. So thank you, everybody. Shout out to Josh Allen. I'm sure he's going to win Defensive Player of the Week in the AFC. He deserves it. He absolutely killed it, and it's cool for him to kind of get his national attention, because I think a lot of Jaguar fans know what he is and how he is, but he hasn't really had that game where he's kind of exploded to a national level, and it looks like he's going to kind of get that from this game. But yes, guys, go Jaguars, and I'll see you guys next time.